Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday chat. I'm really excited about this conversation that we're going to have because I think it's a necessary one concerning where things are happening in media and from a law enforcement perspective. And so we're appreciative that you have allowed us to come into your spaces again today. You know, we're here every single Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those who do not know me, I'm Evangelist Nietzsche. I'm the Marketing and Publications Director for the Pentecostal Assembly of the World. And we just want to thank you for joining us today. As you are coming in, be sure to let us know where you're watching from, your city and state, your council, and we would love to hear from you. As you're coming in, let me just share a couple of announcements with you. Two of them pertain to your Sunday school booklet. I know that there are questions about the adult Sunday school booklet. So you know that we have been in the midst of COVID-19, a global pandemic. Due to that, some of our printing has been delayed. So I want to share with you the books that have been shipped that you should have either received by now or either received a tracking number for by now. All of these Sunday school orders who have current accounts have been shipped out. That is the adult teacher book, the young adult teachers and student books, teen teachers and student books, junior high school teacher and student books, junior teacher and student books, primary teacher and student books, preschool teacher and student books. The supplements that have been sent are the adult large print, the TSK kits, Craft Kingdom workbooks, quarterly quiz packets, junior Bible activities. All other materials not shipped are on back order. So the adult Sunday school books, do have a delay. We are expecting that those books will ship on or by June 30th, 2020. If you have not received the literature that I read off, speaking about the preschool, primary, junior high, teen, and young adult, if you have not received those, please give a call to the office to check to see what the status is. The adult Sunday school books are delayed at this moment. They have not shipped, but the adult teacher manuals, the teacher book has shipped. So the adult Sunday school books have not shipped. They are delayed due to the effects of COVID-19, the printing and shipping of those, but they are expected to ship on or by June 30th of this year. If you have any questions, you can call the PAW headquarters or send us an email through the website at pawinc.org. If you order Read Fast Pray t-shirts, like the one that I have on, if you order them in the first shipment, then your t-shirts have already shipped. If you order them in the second shipment, then they will be shipping out no later than June 10th. So if you ordered in that first run that we put out earlier in May, those shirts have shipped. If you ordered after that time, after May 6th, May 7th, those shirts are shipping out on or by June 10th, okay? And then, of course, we have some delays due to the mail. We're noticing that mail that would normally take 2 to 3 days is taking up to 8 days. So we thank you for your patience. Hopefully that update will help you as you navigate with your Sunday school and your t-shirt materials, all right? Text everyone, email everyone, share this video with everyone, hit the like button because there's a conversation that is getting ready to happen that we don't want anyone to miss. So hit the like button, hit the share button, drop us a comment in the comments section. Let us know that you're watching and where you're watching from. It is always a privilege and an honor to bring our amazing presider, Bishop Theodore L. onto this screen every single Tuesday. He's just full of wisdom, of compassion, and I think that you all would agree, the leader for this set time. I don't know how we could have made it this particular moment without an amazing, anointed, humble leader, and we are appreciative. Bishop Brooks, how are you this morning? Or this afternoon, I guess.
I'm doing well, doing very fine. I appreciate your comments, but to God be the glory. We're all in this together, and God has given me, as I've always said, a wonderful team of people and across the board that have helped us navigate through this. It hasn't been a one-man show. It won't be a one-man show. It's people like yourself who helped us to do this, our first and second assistant. And two gentlemen coming on are going to help us get this word out to everybody that we can so that we can really have some dialogue about it. And as you know, we got an exciting program even coming up Thursday evening.
Yes.
First time we're going to be on Thursday evening at 7 o'clock It is going to be extremely good. Besides this conversation today about the atrocity that happened to Mr. Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota, we're also going to have on several presiders with us on Thursday evening from different Pentecostal apostolic organizations. We're going to come on and going to talk about the church's point of view and what the church needs to do. How does the saved church, and I'll say it in that framework, how does the church who claims to have the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues, the Spirit of God, how do we deal with this without becoming angry, without becoming frustrated? How do we join in with the protests without being one of the violators of the law? And so it's going to be an extremely important conversation, because too long we've been like, okay, we're going to pray for you. We're going to pray, but we need to do something now. And we need to be able to stand up, stand out, declare, proclaim. You know, we've already gave our statement. It's on our Facebook page, on our website. Our statement against this atrocity that happened. Not only this one, but for every person of color whose lives have been lost because of police brutality. And again, as I stated before on my own Facebook page, all police are not in this category. And we're getting ready to bring on one who I've known for I don't know how many years, who is the epitome of excellence when it comes to law enforcement, who's fair, who's upright, who's honest, who has a super amount of integrity, who served the Detroit Police Department. And now I'm going on to Wayne County as a deputy sheriff, assistant chief deputy sheriff. He's just phenomenal character. He's coming on with us, the Honorable Ray Washington. And then we have a DC photojournalist who, good afternoon, Ray. How are you doing, sir?
Fine, sir. How are you doing, Bishop?
Chief Washington.
Ray Washington. Look, titles come and go. My name will always be the
same. That's the way I feel about it, you know.
Yes, sir. Ray Washington.
One day I'm up and one day they'll put me down somewhere.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But we got some questions we're going to be talking to you about. And then we have Andrew Wafford, as a DC photojournalist who was right there in DC when the protest was going on. He is a photojournalist for ABC 7 News in DC. Brother Andrew, welcome, man. Glad to have you here with us.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me get right into this, and I'll go back and forth. Because, ladies and gentlemen, one of the purposes that I wanted to do this is that oftentimes, one, we don't hear from law enforcement. The church never goes and questions the law enforcement officers unless they want to say something negative about them. And so I wanted to have on someone who I know, again, has integrity, who's not part and party to all of the atrocities against people of color. I wanted him to come on. And then when I heard about Brother Andrew was right there in the midst when they came down and protested in D.C., right by the Capitol, by the White House, I believe, right, Andrew?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And saw, and as a photojournalist, he's out there. So we sees who's there, who isn't there, what they're doing and what they aren't doing. So I'm going to be going back and forth with you all, asking them questions. Again, too bad we couldn't get you all that are watching to comment in on this. But I would tell you, I'm excited about this. I appreciate the effort that you all have given to come on with me. Andrew, first of all, your insights on the oftentimes negative connotations and distrust have been thrown upon you guys in the media. As you know, we have someone in that White House down there who you know, just says all kind of negative things about media, unless you are saying that he is the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings, which he is not, and the great I am, which he is not. So how do you deal with that being out there? And I know you had comments said to you from certain rallies calling you fake media and everything. How do you all handle that, son?
It's tough because as someone in news, your number one priority is to inform people, is to give people a piece of information that they otherwise would not know, if they were not there, or if they weren't being shown what it is that you're shooting. And so it's tough because we just want to inform people. We're not out here to try to we're not out here trying to set smoke screens. We're not out here trying to twist anything that you're seeing to try to add any sort of sensationalism to it, to add a certain rhetoric to it. All we're doing is giving you what it is that people are seeing. And it's tough because you have people who unfortunately don't want to face the reality of what's going on. So in their minds, they'd rather twist it. They'd rather turn it. They'd rather fix it to what seems fit for them in order, aside from facing the reality of what it is. And unfortunately, with these protests and with these things going on, it's our number one priority to just make sure that people are seeing what it is that are going on, good and bad. And for me, I never want to intend to give anybody a perception of anything negative. I never, especially in regards to people who look like me, who have the same color as me. The last thing I want to do is to make us look bad. I mean, but at the same time, as a journalist, as someone in media, someone who's looking to give you the truth, no matter what it looks like, is tough. Because I just want you to see what's going on, and I want you to be able to form your own opinion, and I want you to be able to form your own thought about what it is you see, good or bad. Again, we never intend for anything that you see to be bad, but if it's in the world around you, if it is going on, then you have, as a journalist, a code to be able to make sure that you're giving them just that.
Wow, wow. In light of that, Chief Washington, now I'm going to call you Chief Washington because that's what we got you on here today for. I was a police commissioner for 9 years. You and I talked about that. We talked about the guys on the force, and I was listening to Andrea talking about you never wanted to portray people of color in a negative way, but some people come out and are in a negative way. And it is what it is. And so we need to see that. And the years that you've been in law enforcement, and you said it earlier, you can reiterate that, but also on that same line, it has to be tough for you to be able to be saved, maintain. I know how they can be in the streets against you. Share something with us.
Yes, sir. So again, my 37 years in law enforcement, I think by the grace of God, I think my faith has sustained me and allowed me to police in the proper way. Now, let me say, it's a tough job, and I think that what helps also, what helped in my 25 years in the Detroit Police Department, and when we're talking about policing in the proper way, there was something that we had that we called in the Detroit Police Department, the city of Detroit. It was a residency rule where Detroit police officers had to live in the city of Detroit. And it's just my opinion that when we kind of lost that, we kind of lost it a little bit as how we should be policing. When I had to live in the community that I served, that I protect and serve, I'm sure it helped me do that in a way that I was doing it the proper way.
Right.
When I had to police people in the city of Detroit, I would see those people in the grocery store. I would see those people in the church. I would see those citizens. I knew the young man's mother that was doing wrong that I had to police, and I knew I would see her again. My point is, when we lost that, I think we lost a lot of how we should be policing the citizens. I think some of us, and it's just a very few, had gotten away from the fact of we came on this job and took an oath to serve and to protect and serve, not to judge and murder people. That's not what we're here for.
Right.
And I think at some point, a very few have kind of lost that oath or that pledge that we took and got it twisted and for some reason thought that they need to become judge and jury as we're policing. And that's just not the way we should be policing. As you can see with the uprising that's happening in America right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that in a second, but I just want to say to everybody that's tuning in, and I know some people tuning in and saying, well, normally Bishop comes on and he's doing this spiritual thing, and and all of that. And he is, quoting the scripture and telling us God is this and God is that. And now he's in there talking about law enforcement. He's talking about journalists and whatnot. I think what we must understand, brothers and sisters, is that this is a part of life. And, we don't speak in tongues 24 hours a day. We don't praise God 24 hours a day. We live in a real world. And part of the problem with the church is we have negated the real world that we live in and tried to just think we're in church 24/7, and we aren't. And we, it's important that we have this kind of dialogue. And Chief, you said something that I'm going to go back to you on before I get to Brother Andre. You said that the young fella that's acting up in the street, you're going to see his mama in church probably.
Absolutely.
Or grandmama in church. And so how you treat him now as you face them is you got to do it right. But also when he sees you, he's got to make sure that, okay, guy knows my mother, he knows my grandmother, he knows Uncle Bob, he's on Uncle Billy, oh Lord Jesus, hey, come on, man, Officer Washington, man, give me a break, man, and all of that. But take that in light of, because what really messed me up was, and let me just tell this little story. One time, I was doing, Ray, you seen the work that we did in New Haven up on the street. Yes. And I'm walking down to the little corner store. I don't never go there. And they had put this rookie cop right on to patrol the area. And they left him by himself. And he's standing up against the fence, and about 5 or 6 of the little drug lords had him cornered. And they weren't, they were just taunting him, poking him. What you doing here, man? Little white boy, what you doing here, man? What you over here in that neighborhood for, and whatnot. And I walked up on him and I said, hey guys, what are you doing? Oh, Rev, we're just having some fun. I said, brothers, take a walk, leave the kid alone. Come on. I said, brothers, take a walk. Now I had the relationship with them that they would listen to me. And the kid was frozen. I mean, he looked like, if I said boo, he might have jumped over the fence that he was standing up against.
Yes.
Take that. And when I looked at the photo of that officer, I don't know his name. I really don't want to know his name. His name is out of my book of remembrance because he really doesn't exist as a human being. He had that left hand in his pocket.
Yes.
And his knee on the man's neck.
Yes.
Now I'm saved. I'm saved. I'm truly saved, Ray. I'm saved.
I believe that.
But good God Almighty.
Yes.
Stuff rose up in me. I was just like, I mean, I'm not even there. This is aftermath. He's dead now.
Yes.
And I'm like, your take on the way that officer handled that.
So I've heard other saved people, saved young men say the same thing. I'm glad I wasn't there because I don't know. They tell me I probably would have went to jail for interfering in that. It was that egregious and it was that damaging. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Again, in all my years in law enforcement, I've never seen an officer murder someone in that fashion. Just the way that happened. Seemed to be no care in the world about what he was doing, and he was being filmed and knew he was being filmed, and just didn't care. That's scary, really.
Yeah,
something has happened to him. Something has happened to him in his policing, in his mind, that took him there to have seemingly no sense of remorse about what he was doing. I heard Bishop, and I'm going to get to that. I heard someone say. A former police chief say, and I have to give him credit for saying that we as law enforcement officers, when we come on the job, we take a psychological exam to get on the job. And then we never, ever get one again in most agencies that I know.
Right.
And it's nowhere in the world you can see the things that I see on a daily basis, that I've seen in 37 years in law enforcement on a daily basis, and think, nothing has happened in my mindset on what I'm seeing every day, and I've become cynical and callous about the things that I've seen. I can actually see a dead body or somebody that's head has been decapitated in a car accident or something, or a baby that has been killed and tragically laying in the street, and I could literally eat lunch in front of that. Something might be wrong with that.
Yes.
So I think we need to, as law enforcement people, every 5 years, every so and so, we need to have psychological exams, not to say that we're crazy, but to say, listen, I know you've seen so much in your career. Let us talk to you and make sure that you're on the right page. So
Right.
when things happen, such as I have to get physical with someone, I'm not blinking out now. I'm not zoning to a point that I don't see anything but apprehending this person and doing things that I should not be doing because my mind has taken me someplace where it shouldn't have. And so what I saw him do was just something I'd never seen before. And the as we talk about the other 3 officers that were there who didn't interfere. I heard you talk about the rookie officer who was in your town where you live at the store, and they were giving him the business. He's a rookie officer, and they talked about these 3 officers being there who didn't have the seniority of the officer who was actually committing the murder. And what could they have done? And maybe they didn't know what to do. If they could have just simply called for their supervisor because they know something's going wrong. They know this officer is murdering this guy. They're saying, hey, maybe we should turn him over. No, we're going to keep him just like he is. Well, maybe we should do this. No, we're going to do that. You know, as a police officer, even though you're a rookie, that when you come on this job, you know right from wrong, and you know when your fellow officer is doing something wrong. You have an obligation. You have an obligation to pull him off, to straighten that situation out, if by nothing else, calling for a supervisor and getting you some help so that you can save your career as well as that officer that's committing that murder's career. If you can at that point, probably couldn't at that point, but you can save your own. And we didn't see those things happen. And I think that's why we have the uprising that we have today. And the whole justice system, we need a police reform is true. The justice system reform is true. We need those kind of things because if it's my opinion that if what we saw was murder, and I haven't talked to a police officer or seen on TV a police chief anywhere that didn't call it murder. If we know that is happening, again, we have to do the right things. We have to say, we have to call it what it is. And if we know that those things are happening, we have to call those things out. We have to call those things out within there's no blue, there's what they call it, a blue line, or there's some blue code. We can't have any of that. We have to call that out as law enforcement officers. And I think we're not seeing enough of that among our white officers as well as black officers. All of us, we need to call it out. Something is going wrong, and I think the public needs to hear us say that what we all witness and the uprisings that we're having is because of that. And had that officer been charged, in my opinion, within 2 days, because we all knew what it was. Right. If he just been arrested within 2 days, we don't have the uprisings that we have now. When we take 4 days to arrest someone that we know killed him just because he was a police officer, when we take 4 days to do that, when we still haven't arrested, as I know, the 3 officers that did not do anything to have the obligation, we still have not done that to the citizens, to the community. It appears that we as law enforcement, as justice system, is trying to find a way to ease this out, to get to cover these officers instead of calling it out like it is, and then you have the uprisings that you see, and so we have a long way to go in law enforcement and police reform as well as the justice reform.
Now, Andre, what Chief Washington said is so true, and they have not charged the other 3 officers of what they need to, but here you are now running around with your camera, taking pictures and whatnot. You're with your journalist, has got trying to get things and whatnot. And as he said, the atrocities that he saw, my son's a firefighter. He saw stuff that he said would just, make you flip backwards. And he came home traumatized. some mornings because he saw, and he mentioned about the child getting killed and whatnot. As a journalist, you get to see a lot of that stuff. Couple that with what we see now going on, where people marching in the streets, people protesting. Take that, and I'm coming back to you, Chief, versus those individuals who are now picking up rocks, bats, throwing them through windows, going in stores, grabbing high-end clothes, or grabbing clothes and shoes and stuff out of stores, and running down the street and throwing up the fists like, you know, Black Power and whatnot. How do you all deal? Because you're out there, and the police are pushing you along, as well as the crowd is pushing you along. How do you deal with that, son?
It's absolutely rough. Brother Ray said it. I mean, he explained things absolutely perfectly. You know, but after they called the police, a lot of times we're on the scene next. You get a lot of, and Brother Ray can speak to that. You have reporters, you have photojournalists like myself who pull up to the scene right after that. And we're not the ones. I mean, they have a police barricade around the actual scene, but you know, Brother Ray is the one. You know, he's out there watching them pick up those bodies and seeing it very firsthand. Things that I personally don't see. I honestly would not choose to be, 5 feet from a body that's been decapitated or that has gunshot wounds, and that's not something that personally I would want to see firsthand every single day. But we get an absolute sense of it being on a lot of these scenes of different homicides and accidents or fatal accidents and things like that. And it's not the best thing to see. But when you're talking about being out, protesters and things like that, it's tough because at the same time of wanting to obviously tell the news, you're still a human first. And first and foremost, you can't take the humanity away from who you are. It's like Brother Ray is an officer. He's a deputy chief, but he's a human being first. And as somebody who does my profession, this is what I'm a human first. And so I can relate to so many of that, especially being a Black man who has had different experiences going on throughout his life. That, I definitely can say that I'm blessed to absolutely be here, but certain situations could have turned wrong. Things could have went the wrong direction.
Yeah. Now, Ray, we kind of, Andre, with sounds going out, we'll get him situated. Ray, until he comes back again.
Yes.
These looters who have taken his brother, George Floyd's brother, stood up. I watched him on the ground crying.
I saw it.
And fell on the ground crying, and they had to help him up. And finally, when he got up and he controlled himself a bit, he asked the crowd a question. He said, "Do you see me down here with a stone in my hand, with an incendiary device in my hand, with a bat in my hand, creating the havoc?" He said, "If you don't see me here, then what are you doing here? What is your your take on it?"
I saw that, and I totally agree with his brother. You know, I have a couple of takes on it, and it is just what it is. These young people are out here looting and destroying their neighborhoods and destroying property and destroying their targets and Target stores and things like that that they won't be able to use again. I think there's no room for that. They're almost doing the same. Well, they're doing the same thing, committing a crime, as the officer who murdered George Floyd. Maybe it's not to that extent, but they're committing crimes as well. You can't justify committing a crime to prove a point that or your point you're trying to prove. The other side to that is I talked to my 32-year-old sons and I talked to my 34-year-old sons, and trying to get a take from that generation. They talk about how they cried out all across America as young Black men. They go out on the street to do whatever it is their business, to go to work, to go to church, to go to the library, whatever they're doing, and don't know that if they're going to make it home or not, because they're going to have a bad encounter with a police officer, and more times than not, a white police officer. And they talk about how they've sat on panels and sat in classrooms and had discussion about this needs to change. This needs to change. This needs to change. As we had the Mike Browns in Ferguson, Missouri, hands up, don't shoot. He shot down unarmed. We talk about the Ernest Gardner choked to death in New York as a black man. I can't breathe, and they continue to kill him on the ground. So we talk about the Freddie Grays in Baltimore, George Floyd now. You know, the young black male, he's like we've been saying over and over, this is not right, and they continue to do these things to us, and they feel like they have no voice other than we have to get your attention some kind of way. So in their minds, they try to justify, if I go tear something up, if I go loot, if I go burn something up, if I turn over a police car, maybe you will hear me. And I'm trying to tell them that's not a way to be heard. It's just
Wait,
not.
let me ask you a question. Let me let me ask you a question with that, because I'm hearing this morning on radio, on TV, last night on TV, day before, everybody out there looting is not part of the community. And I think Reverend Al Sharpton said it, that if something happened years ago, and there was a group that came in that spurned this young man on to create this violence. He committed the violence, got caught, and he spent 7 years in jail, and the other people took off and went home.
Yes.
Is it illogical for me to assume that everybody out there, and I don't know what the percentage is that could be, but those crowds look pretty diverse.
Yes.
And I'm glad to see they were diverse.
Yes.
But was everybody out there? Another thing they said in New York, the stores that were broken into were high-end stores.
Yes.
And that people came in with black pants on, black shirts, black hats,
yes,
black masks.
Yes.
They weren't looking like me.
Yes.
Under all that garments, and they were taking that and run. So, and we get blamed.
Yes. And so we had a police chief here in Detroit, our police chief, Craig, in Detroit Police Department. I think he said it best. He said, listen, we appreciate you of the white population that are coming into the city, into Detroit, protesting and talking about Black Lives Matter. But what we really need you to do is do that in your community that you live in the mostly the all-white community that you live in. We need you to march those streets. We'll take care of Detroit. We need you to march those streets in those neighborhoods where a lot of these officers live and where they come from, that are wreaking havoc and causing these things to happen. We need you to protest and march and raid in the areas that you live in.
Amen.
That's true, because a lot of them come into the city, the inner city of New York, LA, Rodeo Drive, these places. They're coming in and doing the looting. And you're right. I think one day we had about, in Detroit, as I read, about 60 arrests, and 17 of those were from the city of Detroit out of the 60. I think it was 17. It might have been even a little lower. So to your end, to your point, Bishop, those people are coming in from outside, and they're doing the looting. I watched the Facebook post where they had a couple of young white women spraying graffiti on a building, Black Lives Matter. You know who's going to get blamed for playing that, for spraying that graffiti on the building? It's going to be the black people that's going to be blamed for adding that graffiti to the buildings. So right. The white folk come in and they spray that and they leave, and we get blamed for it as black men or women. And so I think best they need to protest. I think protesting has a place for protesting, and if you're sincere in your protesting as a white person, and you're and you want to get the word out that Black Lives Matter, just simply do it in your suburban community. We appreciate it.
I had a friend of mine, a young man that was under my tutelage, a pastor who I'd mentored along. He lives in an area where it's predominantly white, and it is, and they're not the kindest white people either up there. In other words, they're a little bit racist. And said he was coming home in this town, and as he came home and he was driving down the street, said he had a white lady standing up on the corner. She had a sign saying, COVID-19 and police officers need to stop killing black men or black people.
Mhm.
And he said he had to look 3 times because it was strange to him to see this in his neighborhood, in the community where he lived.
Mhm.
But you're right. Take it back out to your neighborhood.
Yes.
You know, they were marching down by the police station in New Haven. They were marching, blocking off the highway. My neighborhood is mixed. There's nobody out here marching.
Mhm.
Nobody, you know, and there's affluent people that live out here. Nobody out here marching. Nobody's marching over in the other area of New Haven where they're affluent. So this becomes a problem. Andrea, I'm glad you're back with us. Uh,
Yes,
the
they had some
media,
audio
help us
issues.
with the media, man, because you know you guys get blamed for this crazy reporting. We got 33% of the people in America who believe that you all are fake news. You fake them. The pictures you're taking are not real. You fabricate. You take a picture and you splice some things in, and you know it's really not. You know, them protesters out there, it's them other agitators. Help us, Andrea, please.
It's rough because I tell people, you know, if this is not what you like being portrayed, then change what it is that you're doing, because ultimately we're only capturing it and telling what's going on. If it's something that you don't like, then you need to change what it is that you're showing. I understand we live in a world where many people want to control the narrative. I know we live in a world that people don't like it when things are out of their control. And in this particular industry that I work in, we're somewhat of I don't want to say a third party, but we're somewhat of that bridge from you to the masses. And that's why it's so important for us to make sure that we get things right, is because we're that bridge from whoever you are to tell your story to give out to other people. So it's extremely important. The concept of fake news is really interesting to me, because I mean I honestly believe that you have to really do work in order to make it in order to make something that's not true true.
Oh,
It takes work to
come
do
on,
that.
brother Andrew.
It it, it,
Y'all
it
know, brother Andrew. Now, come on, now.
it takes a lot of work. I mean, seriously, it takes a lot of work
I'm messing with you,
to
son.
say that this is the way things work, and we're taking pictures of it and we're showing. That's why, you know, it's interesting when our president talks about fake news. This is something that we can prove. It's something that we can be backed up 10 times over, that can prove us right. And so when people do that, especially the public who are never there, they don't know anybody who's there, and so they make something seem like, oh, that's not true, that's fake, this is something else. Well, for one, if you're going to even make that accusation, make sure you're at least the uttermost source of that. Don't tell me you heard from so and so who heard from so and so who heard from so and so that wasn't true, because in all actuality, it makes you it makes you less credible. And being on the front lines of a lot of things that happened again a few nights ago, you know, I'm out, you know, in the district, and I'm covering a lot of these protests, and people are yelling at me, telling, make sure you know that y'all show the right things. And I'm just thinking, y'all just set a Fox News truck on fire. What else can I say? What else can be told outside of you having a torch and burning up this car? Again, I understand you're upset. I understand you're angry. I get it. I love to see people protest. I love to see people unified. But my thought process is anything that you do, make sure that you're being productive, and make sure that it's for a reason that you can support, that does not seem less mature in nature. At least I'm not mad at what some people are doing if they can justify real reasons to get real results. I'm sorry, breaking into Target and stealing toilet paper that's been short for weeks that isn't helping the cause.
Not at
And
all.
in fact, it's a struggle, because you want to give reasons, you want to give police officers, and Brother Ray, you can speak to this. You know, you guys are human. You want to speak to reasons why people should trust you more. I mean,
Right.
like, as much as you all are police officers and we should trust you all, there's a trust obviously that you want to have towards us, to be able to make sure we're doing the right things as well, to not put you all in positions that has you all thinking like, okay, what should I do? What should I do? I'm
Right.
not sure. It's tough. I mean, you all do an absolutely tough job. I mean, I couldn't be a police officer. I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't do it. And so, because I don't have the capacity to want to deal with everything as much as you all have to do, because I know that that's stress on another level, and I don't know that a lot of people, unfortunately, knows what that feels like. Again, it's one thing to see it on the news. It's one thing for me to be there and to record it. It's another when you're zipping up a body day after day after day. It definitely takes a toll on you. And so I think we absolutely want to be more human and be more understanding for the job that you all have to do every day. I know I do. I mean, I know a ton of police officers, and I know it's a lot of police officers that are absolutely amazing, that have given me information, done a lot of things for me, and have protected and did things like that. And so I absolutely understand the amount of difficulty that you all have to go through. But as media, it's tough because we just want to make sure that you all are seeing the unadulterated version, the pure version of what's going on. And so I understand the difficulty. I understand how hard it is. I understand the frustration. I'm there. I'm originally from St. Louis, and I'm from Jennings specifically. And so if anybody knows anything about St. Louis and Jennings, it's directly next to Ferguson. And so I walked with those people. I protested with those people when everything happened with Mike Brown. And I was there throughout all of that. And so I understand how they all feel. I continue to understand when things like this happen. And you wish that they obviously would stop, but unfortunately they don't. And so you have to deal with it, as they come. But it's absolutely rough. It's absolutely rough as a part of the media.
That is true, Bishop. That trust has to go both ways. And as Andrew said, when we're on the front line and we're trying to just hold a line to keep people from looting and rioting, and we're just standing there doing what we need to do to just hold a line, not attacking anyone, not going after anybody, and you're standing there and hammers are being thrown at you. Just steel sledgehammers are being swung at you, and pop bottles are being thrown at you. And now you're trying to get your voice heard, but you're trying to hurt me as an officer as well, and who's simply out there still trying to protect and serve you as you are out there for a peaceful protest, so to speak. And then it turns bad. And then you want to say, well, the police officers are attacking me, but you're doing attacking because you're looting and you're throwing objects and you're trying to hurt me. So I need to trust you and you need to trust me. And that needs to happen all the way around.
Chief, I want to bring up a point. You go back to a point that you raised. When I was on a commission and we had a meeting one morning and we were hiring or non-hiring some individuals that had been recommended to come on the force. The psychologist came on and he brought on certain people, said they were great, and then when he got to some minorities, he was saying, well, I'm disqualifying them. So I asked the question why, and he said, well, he gave some jibber jabber kind of question, and so I asked him this question. And I got 2 points with you. I asked him this question: what matrix were you using when you did the evaluation on them?
Yes.
You're using a matrix that dealt with people who live in North Dakota or South Dakota, or were you giving him questions with that deal with people that live in the inner city? And I got challenged by a black commissioner on the board that said that I couldn't. I said, indeed I can. I have every right to, because I understand that you can have people who ask questions based upon a matrix that has nothing to do with what they're getting ready to do. And so you bring on officers white officers who come on with this, never been in the black community,
right?
Don't know what it is to be around people of color,
right?
And then come in the black or brown community, black Hispanic community, and want to talk down to them, and then expect them to respect them, and don't get that respect, and then you have the clashing, and that becomes a real problem.
Right.
And what you said before, and I think that's too bad they don't have it, because I believe policemen, firemen need to have psychological analysis done every so many years.
Yes.
Listen, there's a whole lot of preachers that need to. Oh, did I say that?
You said it.
I'm sorry. Oh man, there's a whole lot of preachers. Listen, it's a tough job being a pastor
Yes.
and have to deal with all you have to deal with, and then got to smile.
Yes.
And God reveals some things to you about personalities, and they're trying to up. That's I'm on a whole another ballywag. Let me come back to the thing at hand. Maybe I'll take that up later on. But Andre, for a few moments, because we're going to end this in a little bit. We got a few more minutes. Just tell us, tell the watching PAW and others what it's like to be a Black journalist in a climate like this, and maintaining your integrity and straightforwardness and honesty.
It's honestly for me a little bit easy because I've been Black all my life, so it's easy to be. It's easy to be that, you know. Now, journalists, you know, you want to make sure you're balancing between obviously telling things the right way, but also, you know, making sure you remain you, because sometimes it can, you know, you can sometimes get pulled into what's going on, and you can get pulled into the atmosphere, whether it's protesting. And believe it or not, at times I wanted to just drop my camera and be out there with them because I felt them so much. But at the same time, you want to remain professional and doing what you're doing and making sure you're not necessarily picking sides. And it's rough because you have to remain who you are with still doing what you do. And so it's absolutely challenging. Well, I'm learning it a little bit better, rather. I'm learning how to do it better.
Good.
A Black man, because again, I want to be honest. I want to be honest, and I want to make sure that I'm giving it out to you the right way, regardless of how I feel. And I know how I feel. A lot of people may not. But what's rough is, I think the only hard part about it is the fact that people believe that you shouldn't be doing your job because they feel like you should be with them. And they're not wrong per se, because they feel, again, like we talked about, the fake media. So they feel like, well, how can you be Black and be able to cover this and still kind of have that stance of kind of where you are? I mean, I've seen people argue with Black police officers, and it's like, how are you over there standing with them? It's like, don't think that they don't understand where you're coming from. Don't think that they're any less Black because they're police officers.
Right.
No, they absolutely understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, they understand that, look, you can protest peacefully, you can do this, but when you're talking about rioting and talking about breaking into stores and stealing things, and none of that really equals up to, I mean, peaceful protests. Again, we're all down for the cause. Again, I protested with people during the whole Mike Brown riots and everything, and I was there throughout all of it. And so, absolutely, as a Black man, I understand that, but I still have a job to do, and so I still have to give that to you without picking sides, and that's rough because, again, I'm Black first, I'm a man first, and so those two equal out to who I am. I mean, before I picked up a camera, before I got into this industry, I was that first. And so I try to make sure that I'm still connected with still being able to do my job. And that's, I'm learning how to do that a lot better. I'm striving to do it better, and to not making sure that I'm getting out of myself or being on one side or the other, but making sure that I'm doing right things with not only within my professional, but who I am.
Right.
Respond to that as well.
Yeah, because, you know, as a 37-year law officer, you know, you're the man. You're the 5-0.
Yes.
You know, you're the guy that's gonna bust my buns. I'm sorry. You're the guy that possibly gonna lock me up. You pulled me over and gave me that ticket, and I was only doing 40, and even about 30. Give me a break, brother.
Yes.
I mean, come on, man. You know how hard it is in America for a Black man?
Yes.
Because I'm doing 45, man. You gonna give me a ticket, man? Come on, bro. Give me a break. You just like the man.
Yes. So as Andrew said, you know, I've been Black all my life. And so you can't come to me with the come on, brother. I am your brother. Exactly. And so, you know, what I do is, you talked about how do you maintain some kind of person about you that doesn't say that I am a police officer and that's who I am and that's all I am. You know, again, I talked about my faith that I'm positive that sustains me in being a police officer. I talk about all the time with people, how other police officers, even how we have to get away from just hanging out with police officers and just hearing police stuff all day, every day. Even that's my circle. That's not my circle. My circle is factory workers and those people that are clerks and secretaries, and those people who are doctors and lawyers, and those people who are garbage collectors, sanitation workers. My circle is so big that I don't get to just focus on listening to police stuff all day long, talking about how nobody trusts us, how we don't trust anybody, how we got to always be careful, how we got to always keep. I know I have to do all of that, but I don't have to surround myself with that. Listen, I've been very, very popular in my career with police officers, but the little hanging out that I do, it's not with a lot of police officers. It's just not, because I want to know that the world is bigger than just us policing people, that there are people like Andrew and yourself, Bishop, and other people that have a lot to offer to me than just, we the police. You can't trust nobody. You got to watch your back. I don't want to live like that. That's not who I am. Policing is what I do. It's not who I am. And I think if you simply keep that thought and you keep that in your mind as you go about your daily, I think we're able to differentiate the difference. And I'm a police officer. I got to do my job, but I'm a human being and I'm a Black man as well. And we got to have the balance. And I think that helps me by not surrounding myself with just police officers all day, every day.
You know what, gentlemen, I got to wrap this up. I don't want to, but we've been on long enough, and we got to bring this back again. Evangelist Nietzsche, we got to bring back these two gentlemen. Probably bring back with us the first assistant, who is also police commissioner now in Kansas City. Have some real dialogue. One of the things that bother me is the fact that we don't have a lot of times real dialogue about real issues. I have two saved men here. One is a journalist who's out there taking the pictures, who sometimes would have to say, God, what in the world are these crazy people doing? The other is a 37-year law enforcement officer who's seen everything from the kitchen sink to everything, and then still got to go home and got to come in on Sunday morning and give God praise, knowing that maybe while he's in church, he's going to get a beep, a call, because he is a deputy chief, and he got to leave church and go to a scene where he's got a a triple murder, or a double murder, a homicide or something, and then he's got to supervise that. That is a really enormous struggle that we have. We don't talk about people like you two who make up a great deal of what our organization is really all about. And people need to see and need to know. One, I thank both of you. Ray, I love you, my brother.
Thank you, Bishop.
You're my man. Andrew, I'm just meeting you, son. But I definitely got to get to know you. I understand you've been working with the IPYPU in some good effort. Anything we can do to help you, man,
Thank you.
you just holler out. They can tell you. You call the man, he's gonna answer. He's gonna talk to you. Nietzsche has my numbers. I'll say to both of you, Andrew, make sure you take good care of yourself, because son, we need you. We need young men like you to stand up and to be true to who you are. Ray, you like me, we done climbed the mountain, and we're trying to slowly come down it.
Yes, sir.
Not crash.
Yes, sir.
So take care of yourself.
Yes, sir.
Do what I did, Ray. Ray, do what I did. I went out in my backyard and built me a garden. So I got some collards growing, some cabbage, some mustard greens, some tomatoes, some cucumbers, some sweet potatoes, some white potatoes, and some onions. Yes, indeed.
Look, I say that all the time. Listen, I can't wait to get home and just sit on my porch and just watch the cars go by. I can't wait till that happens. I'm good with it.
I hear you. Daughter, I love you. I thank God for you. You are really a blessing to the organization, and I appreciate you. I'm grateful for all of you are. But before we go, what I'm going to do is make sure that we pray that God will bring peace to the land. And all of this, besides COVID-19, now we have this stuff. And so we want to pray that God will intervene and bless. All right. Father in heaven, I thank you for your grace and your goodness and your mercy, love and kindness. I thank you, God, for your blessings above everything, God. You said, God, if we call upon your name, God, we humble ourselves and call upon your name, God, that you would hear from heaven. You would heal the land. God, we need healing in our land, God. We need healing in our land, God. We need you to protect all of your saved officers, God, and your saved journalists, God, and people who are working in this area to try to bring about the news, God. I pray, God, you send your peace and comfort among us that will ever give you praise, glory, and honor and magnify thee. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen and amen, and
Amen.
amen. Don't forget to join us Thursday night, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock for 1 hour. We're going to have on the Honorable Bishop. Can I tell it, Evangelist Dumas? I can tell it, right? The evangelist, we're going to have on the Honorable Bishop Lambert Gates of the PCAF. Going to have Apostle Clark on from Cool JC, and Bishop Monroe Saunders is going to be on with us. He's leading an organization, and we're going to talk about the effects of this disaster, COVID-19, coupled with the murder of George Floyd and the rest of the 60 some odd Black men and women, predominantly Black men, who have been killed by some form of brutality, unnecessarily so. We're going to talk about that. We need to talk about it. Love you all. Be blessed.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, get on the porch, Ray.
Yes, sir.
Andrew, I don't know what you gonna do, man, but
Yeah, you got a long way to go, Bishop.
you got a long way to go.
Right.
Amen.
Thank you.
God bless you all.
All right.